Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into a principle that really promises to reshape how you think about work and honestly your whole life. We're talking about the 9-5-5 rule. Now this isn't just some minor productivity hack. I first stumbled on it watching how, really successful people operate.
Right.
And the promise is pretty huge. Shifting from that feeling of burnout, those crazy work weeks that kill your relationships, towards, well, building a life with resources, freedom, community, engagement, the good stuff.
Yeah, and a key part of this, I think, is that it's designed to cut right through that illusion of productivity we all fall into sometimes.
Illusion of productivity, I like that.
It basically says that a massive chunk, like 95% of your results, they come from just 5% of your really focused effort.
Wow.
Think about it like your life's a boat, okay, and you hit a rock, water's pouring in.
Right, panic stations.
Exactly. Most people just grab a bucket and start bailing like crazy,
Right.
nonstop bailing.
Been there.
But the ones who really get ahead, the ones using this 9-5-5 idea, they spend their energy finding the hole, finding where the water's actually coming from and figuring out how to plug that. That's the real work.
That makes sense. So, okay, our mission here today is to really unpack this. How does this 9-5-5 rule actually work? How do you find your critical 5%? And maybe just as important, what do you do with all the other stuff, the other 95%? Let's dive in.
Okay, so let's break this down. The 9-5-5 rule. It sounds a bit like the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule.
It does, yeah, but it's like, well, like you said, it's Pareto on steroids.
Yes, on steroids. Because it forces an even more, radical focus, doesn't it?
It really does. It's not just about finding the important few. It pushes you to get rid of almost everything that isn't the absolute highest leverage activity.
A single domino.
Exactly. The one thing that knocks everything else down. It's about focusing only on the things that give you exponential results. Because that's supposedly where 95% of your success comes from.
And that's how you break free from just being busy. Oh, definitely. It's so easy to fall into that trap. I remember we hired this marketer once. Business was doing okay, maybe $3 million a year.
Okay.
And this person, super talented, loads of ideas. Everyone was really excited.
That's promising.
Yeah, but 6 months later, we had to let them go.
Oh.
Because instead of doing the hard work, the deep dive, the audit to figure out what was really holding things back.
The 5%.
Right. They just got busy doing stuff. They didn't have the discipline to identify the root problems and, crucially, figure out what not to do.
So all that effort
Was just bailing water, didn't plug the hole.
Okay, that's a powerful example. And it leads to this key idea, right? If you're truly growing, if you're applying this, your calendar should look like 95% different next year compared to last year.
That's a great way to put it, is your real progress meter.
If it looks the same, you're probably stuck in the 95% noise.
You're probably missing the mark, yeah. Which, brings us to the big question for you listening. How do you find your 5%?
Yeah, the million-dollar question.
And the answer, fundamentally, it comes down to clarity. Crystal clear direction.
Simple as that.
Well, think about it. If you don't know what target you're aiming for, how can you possibly hit it? You can't. A confused mind just stalls.
True.
And actually, that lack of clarity, that feeling of being overwhelmed and not knowing what to do, that can even lead to feelings of, depression for some people.
Wow, okay, so clarity is crucial. And you see that kind of single-minded focus in the really big visionaries, don't you?
Absolutely. Think about Bill Gates. His mission was totally clear. A personal computer in every home.
Right.
Mark Zuckerberg, from the start, build a metaverse. And Elon Musk, his core thing is colonizing Mars. It sounds wild, but look closer.
Yeah.
All his big companies, Starlink for communication, the Boring Company for tunnels, AI Optimus robots, Tesla's self-driving. It's all infrastructure.
Infrastructure for Mars.
Exactly. Every major move supports that one massive goal. It's incredible focus.
So connecting that back to you, the listener.
The clarity of your vision, your big goal, it directly impacts the quality of every single decision you make.
Because you can always ask.
Does this get me closer to that target? If the vision's clear, the decisions become much, much clearer. Excellent, even.
So, okay, practically speaking, how do you get that clarity? What are the steps?
Right, let's make it actionable.
First step, apparently, is dream big. Like really big. Don't be nearsighted.
Yeah, it sounds a bit fluffy, but it's critical. If you could tell your 20-year-old self something, it'd probably be dream bigger.
Why is that so important?
Because most people set targets that are too small. They don't actually require big life changes or radical focus. You need a target big enough to justify shaking things up. Go way out there.
Okay, dream big, Step 2.
Step 2. Write down 12 goals for the year. Things you want to achieve, projects, outcomes. Just list them out.
12 seems like a lot if we're focusing on one thing.
It's about getting it all out first. Look,
Yeah.
even if you only hit 7 or 8 of those, that's massive progress.
True. Okay, 12 goals.
Then comes the crucial part. Step 3. Circle the one. Look at those 12 and find the single goal that, if you achieved it, would make all the others kind of irrelevant or way, way easier.
The domino goal again.
That's the one. And finally, step 4. List the projects needed for that one goal and then aggressively ignore the rest.
Ignore the other 11.
For now, yes. This is execution time. Focus all your energy on the sub-projects for that one circled goal. Be ruthless.
Okay, so you found your potential 5%. How do you make sure you actually spend time on it? It's easy to get pulled back into the weeds.
Yeah, good question. It comes down to your calendar. It should ideally be filled only with things that, one, you genuinely enjoy or find energizing.
Love the work you do idea.
Exactly. And 2, things that provide the absolute most leverage on your time towards that big goal. It's that intersection.
Love it and high leverage.
Precisely. There's actually a tool for this called the DRP matrix. It helps you visualize it.
DRP matrix. Okay, tell me more.
So imagine a simple grid, right? 2 axes. One axis is for things that light you up, give you energy, things you would enjoy maybe creating, research, writing, whatever it is for you.
Got it. The energy axis.
Yeah. The other axis is about what generates the most resources for you. And think broadly about resources. Money is one, obviously, but it's really stored potential, like a battery.
A battery for your goals.
Exactly. The more battery, the more you can invest in your 5%. So your sweet spot, your 5%, is the top right quadrant, the production quadrant. That's where high energy meets high resource generation.
Ah, I see. What about the other quadrants?
Well, understanding those is just as important. You've got things that drain you and don't make money. That's the distraction quadrant, obviously needs deleting. Then things that make money but you hate doing, the delegation quadrant. And things you love but don't generate resources yet, maybe the incubation quadrant. Knowing where activities fall gives you clarity.
That makes a lot of sense. But here's the thing, that 5%, it can't stay the same forever, right? Life changes.
Oh, absolutely not. It has to evolve. Think about, I don't know, life before and after having kids.
Huh. Yeah, tell me about it. My 5% definitely shifted. Priorities changed completely.
Right. Or even in work. Maybe certain meetings used to be really valuable, totally green in your matrix. But over time, they stop adding new value. They don't empower the team anymore. They drift into yellow or even red.
And the hard part is letting go.
It really is. You have to constantly reevaluate. It's tough cutting things that used to be important. I have a friend owns a dental clinic. He called me up, totally overwhelmed, trying to figure this 955 thing out for himself.
Okay.
So I asked him, what's your single biggest bottleneck right now? And immediately he said, staff. Can't find enough good people, can't keep them.
Common problem.
Very. So we dug into that. For him, his 5% became crystal clear. Building a really solid system for attracting, hiring, training, and crucially, retaining top staff.
Not just hiring, but the whole system.
The whole system. Everything else he was doing. Important, sure. Things that have to get done. But they weren't the needle mover. Fixing the staff bottleneck was the 5% that would unlock massive growth.
That's a great concrete example. So once you know it, how do you protect that time? The day-to-day always tries to creep in.
Simple, but not easy. Put it in your calendar first thing. Block out the first, say, 90 minutes of every single day.
Every day.
Every day. For that one project. The one that moves the big domino. And here's the key. You have to stay with it.
Stay with it even when it gets boring or hard.
Especially then. Resist the urge to jump to something else. I used to have this terrible habit, get bored with the problem, move on. So nothing ever got truly solved.
I recognize that pattern.
Yeah. Understanding this 955 rule really hammered home that the 5% needs sustained focus, sometimes uncomfortable focus. It means doing less, actually, not starting another new thing, not getting distracted. Okay, so if 95% of the results come from 5% of the effort, what on earth do you do with the other 95% of your time and tasks?
Right, because stuff still needs to happen.
Exactly. Think about a world-class chef in a high-end kitchen.
Okay.
Is the head chef spending hours chopping onions or peeling potatoes?
No, probably not. They have prep cooks for that.
Precisely. The chef focuses on the critical parts, designing the dish, the final plating, the quality control, the things that make the meal exceptional. They stay in their zone, their flow, supported by their team and systems.
So the goal is to get your life set up like that. where you stay in your 5% zone.
That's the aspiration, supported by people and systems so you can keep creating, keep pushing forward on what matters most.
And to manage that other 95%, there's this framework, right? The 3Ds.
Yep, the 3Ds, very practical.
Okay, first D is defer. What does that mean exactly?
It means intentionally postponing things. Some actions are important, but just not now. Timing is everything.
Like doing something too early might actually be less effective?
Absolutely. It can diminish its value.
Yeah.
So you make a conscious choice. Okay, this is important, but it's a next quarter thing or even next year. It frees up bandwidth mentally and physically for the now priority, your 5%.
Okay, defer. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Second D.
Delete. This is the pruning process. Actively cutting out tasks or activities you're currently doing that just don't serve your 5% anymore.
Taking things off the list entirely.
Yes. I do this constantly. Just look at my list and go, nope, gone, not doing that. I even did it with my morning routine.
Really? What happened?
I used to have this really structured routine. Then I thought, what if I just woke up and started working on the 5%? And you know what? It worked great for me at that stage.
Interesting. But there's a warning here, right?
Oh, huge caveat. Crucially, this deleting part, it's not for beginners.
Weaning.
If you haven't built the discipline yet, if you haven't really identified your 5% and started executing on it, just randomly deleting things could actually set you back. This is for after you've established that core focus.
Got it. Discipline first, then prune. Okay, third D, delegate. This sounds like the hardest one for most people.
It often is. That's why starting small, like with a part-time assistant, is usually a good idea, just to learn the skill.
What makes it so hard?
Well, common pitfalls are things not getting done exactly how you want, so you jump back in.
Undoing the delegation.
Right. Or you spend so much time explaining or fixing that you don't actually save any time. You haven't learned to truly let go and empower the other person. And the key to making delegation work, to actually get your time back for your 5%, comes down to one core idea. Train, don't tell.
Train, don't tell. What's the difference?
If you're just telling people exactly what steps to take, you get stuck in this thing we call the tell, check, next doom loop.
Doom loop sounds bad.
It is. You tell them what to do, then you have to check their work, then you have to tell them the next step. It's exhausting and it never ends.
Because they're not learning to think for themselves.
Exactly. You haven't equipped them. Training, on the other hand, is teaching them how you think. It's giving them the tools.
Like what kind of tools? Checklists. SOPs.
Those can help, sure, but often they're not enough. You need to go deeper. Teach them the mental models you use, the first principles, the frameworks.
Mental models. First principles. Can you give an example?
Sure. Like instead of giving a customer service rep a rigid script for handling complaints, you teach them a mental model like empathize, clarify, resolve.
So they can apply the thinking to new situations.
Precisely.
Yeah.
You empower them to solve problems autonomously. Role-playing helps too. It's about transferring your thought process, not just instructions.
Okay, that requires more effort up front, but pays off long term.
Massively. And hey, if you feel like, I don't know how to train people like that, guess what? There's an amazing free tool that can help you structure your thinking and training.
Let me guess. ChatGPT.
You got it. Use AI to help you articulate your frameworks and build training materials. It's incredibly powerful.
Okay, this all sounds great, but I can hear people thinking using just one thing. That feels really scary. What if I pick the wrong 5%? What if I'm wrong?
Yeah, that fear is real. It's the fear of commitment, the fear of missing out on other things.
Totally.
But here's the thing, maybe the most important takeaway. Picking something, anything that looks like your potential 5%, and then committing, fully putting in the effort, focusing, learning from what happens, getting feedback, that is always the winning move.
Always.
Yeah.
Even if it turns out to be wrong.
Yes. Because it's infinitely better than the alternative, which is trying to do way too many things at once, playing that frantic game of whack-a-mole.
Reacting to everything.
Right, or fighting this vague, invisible monster of overwhelm because you don't even know what's not working. At least if you focus on one thing and it fails.
You know it failed. You can cross it off the list.
Exactly. You can eliminate it with certainty, learn the lesson, and pick the next potential 5% target. You're making progress through focused experimentation, not spinning your wheels in chaos.
Okay, that's reassuring. So to leave everyone with something to chew on, thinking about all the different parts of your work, your health, your relationships, your personal projects, what one thing, if you really truly focused on it, saw it through to completion, what one thing would fundamentally simplify or accelerate everything else you're trying to achieve?